And Israel's defense minister says his country will continue its war against Hamas for as long as necessary. Israel today continued to attack targets in the Gaza Strip from the air and from tanks on the ground while Hamas launched its rockets. We also... What? My God. We have breaking speculation right now, ladies and gentlemen. Jay-Z and Beyonce may reportedly, allegedly be breaking up. This not-so-important news has sent shockwaves throughout our nation. Americans are huddled in shelters, relying on body warmth to keep from going into shock. Everyone, please stay calm. This is just speculation at this point. Please do not do anything rash, and please stay with us for all the latest. I'm just very concerned about our country right now.
Welcome to Fusion Live. I'm Pedro Andrade, joined by my co-hosts Mariana Atencio and Giannis Papas.
Lovely as always to kick off the week with you guys. And we actually saw each other this weekend. We had a great time together.
We did. We got to do it more often.
Yeah.
And you know what, guys? We are joined by the band Electric Piquete.
The second time they've come on the show.
That's right.
And I'm loving them. I wasn't here for the first time, so I'm looking forward to their performance tonight. Let's get the show started. We begin with our straight shot of the day. President Obama signed a historic executive order today that bans workplace discrimination toward lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender workers.
That's right. The order makes it illegal to harass or fire federal employees and contract workers based on gender identity or sexual orientation.
The president spoke today from the White House before signing the order. Take a look.
More states now allow same-sex marriage than prohibit discrimination against LGBT workers. So I firmly believe that it's time to address this injustice for every American.
That was President Obama signing that into order today. And guys, if there was any doubt about President Obama's legacy on LGBT rights, he pretty much wiped them away today. This was a 2008 campaign promise, which the president kept.
But a lot of people are calling this the new civil rights. We saw that, the Time magazine cover with Laverne Cox.
I remember that.
And exactly. And so they're saying that this is also going to decide a lot on the up and coming elections. It was a big move. And what makes a big difference as well from the 1998 bill that Bill Clinton signed is the fact that it really involved transgender, transsexual, and all that.
Yeah, they were sort of like the forgotten group, and now he's coming through on that campaign. It's good to see that in the second term, somebody following through on a promise.
Unlike other promises.
Right. Well, first term, it's like I want to get reelected. Second term, he's really doing it from the heart, so that's good.
Or unlike other promises like immigration, but that's another issue.
Yeah, that's another issue. We will get to that a little bit.
Because Fusion Live is just getting started. Here's what we have coming up in the next hour.
What exactly is a baby worth? In the adoption world, little black or brown boys and girls are worth tens of thousands of dollars less than white babies. We'll tell you how that's even possible. Plus, it has been featured on some of the biggest music hits of the year.
Feeling my way through the darkness.
We sit down for a one-on-one interview with Aloe Black, his music inspiring hope and what he has to say about immigration. Then we go on a heart-thumping ride through the air. This show is wet and wild. We'll give you a front seat to the new show H2 Hombre. And later, it's time to climb in bed with a comedian.
Were you just already throwing peace signs?
Already, I'm all about it.
Giannis gets under the sheets with funny guy Sergio Chicon. The New York comedian talks about bombing in front of a live audience and his love for boxing.
Now to the story we picked for you today. We've been covering the immigration crisis where 50,000 kids are stranded at the border. By now, you've heard about it. You've seen the images of these kids in detention centers. all across the border.
That's right. What you probably don't know about is how bad the conditions in these Central American countries really are. What would lead a mother to send her 5-year-old child thousands of miles through some of the most dangerous countries in the world alone, guys?
Completely alone. Univision News anchor Maria Elena Salinas, she followed their path from Honduras and Guatemala through Mexico all the way to the U.S. border to track these stories of hope and hardship. It's that place between abandonment and rejection.
Thousands of unaccompanied minors from Central America have reached the U.S. border, creating what President Obama has called a humanitarian crisis. But the handling of this crisis is less than humane. It has been tainted by the political debate that ignores the root of the problem. For many of these children, the trip to the north is not just a migration, but an escape from unbearable conditions in their countries of origin.
Como una semana antes de que nos viniéramos, mataron a 2 muchachos. Así, fue terrible ver un muerto y nunca lo había visto, nunca había visto.
Sisters Karen and Melissa, 15 and 12 years of age, decided to travel alone to the U.S. from their native El Salvador. During their journey, they endured bitter moments.
Nos bajaron de una combi y nos asaltaron.
¿Les hicieron algún daño físico también?
Sí.
¿Qué les hicieron?
Nos tocaban y nos querían bajar el.
They were captured by Mexican federal agents before crossing the border to the U.S. and taken to a shelter where they were awaiting repatriation. The 70-year-old Salvadoran was also detained in Mexico before crossing with a group of 60. ¿Fue difícil el camino?
Sí, fue difícil. Costó bastante salir de El Salvador y llegar hasta acá.
¿Vinieron con coyotes?
Sí, con coyotes.
He paid a smuggler $9,000 to bring him to the border and help him reach U.S. soil. It was his first try, but for that price, he's allowed yet another trip to the north.
¿Lo vas a intentar nuevamente? Regreso y luego regresar de nuevo para arriba.
For the smugglers, known as coyotes, migrants are nothing more than merchandise. ¿Usted está consciente de que está poniendo a esas personas en peligro?
Si usted viene y me busca a mí, ¿por qué la voy a poner en peligro? Si desde el momentito que usted vino y me buscó a mí, la que se está poniendo en peligro es usted misma.
In spite of the risk, these young people will do whatever it takes to reach the United States, to reunite with their families, for a better future, or simply to save their lives, escaping from organized crime or violent gangs who pressure them into joining their ranks.
En algún caso aislado, algún miembro de determinada pandilla podría ser que esté conectado con el cártel, pero el cártel nunca va a querer trabajar en sí con el fuerte que es una estructura de pandilla.
Guatemala is one of the poorest countries in Latin America. 70% of those who live in rural areas live with less than $1 a day. But in the capital, there are also people living in extreme poverty. This area known as San Juan is right across the street from the municipal dump. The residents here go into the dump, retrieve the trash that can be recycled and processed, and they sell it. That's basically how they make their living. This is where we met Esvin Alfredo Mateo López. ¿Y como cuánto gana usted con reciclando este tipo de cosas?
Ay Dios, es poquito.
Más o menos.
Como 100 quetzales, solo para la comida.
100 quetzales is the equivalent to $12. With this, he supports his 5 children. ¿Alguno de sus hijos se ha ido hacia el norte o algunos
No.
miembros de su familia?
No. Si yo supiera que estas mis hijas pudieran viajar a Estados Unidos y pudieran conseguir una su visa estando yo aquí en Guatemala, magnífico fuera, ¿va?
¿De veras? Poverty, violence, and a bleak future has many of these Central American children trapped between a system that has left them behind and one that shuts them out of the land of opportunity.
And I have the pleasure of introducing Univision's Maria Elena Salinas on our show now. It's really an honor to have you on, Maria Elena.
Thank you so much.
We're moving up in the world. This is big for us.
This is cool to have this woman here. And this package that we saw, I mean, you traveled almost 6,000 miles, 8 days, 8 cities. What was the most eye-opening experience of your trip?
There were a lot of things, but I think during my trip in Honduras, I was shocked to hear just how vulnerable children are there. The main risk factor for danger there is being young. 50%, over 50% of those that are killed by homicides are under 30 years old. Wow. So, you know, there, I guess kids have 2 choices. Either they leave or they stay and face death. So that was kind of a shock to me to hear those numbers.
I saw the piece, and you had a word that pretty much summarizes what you just said, and it's that if you're young in that country, you're condemned. That's what you said.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that surprised me, and also that a lot of these kids are leaving on their own. I know that we keep hearing that it's the smugglers that are taking advantage of them and that their parents want to, take advantage of the laws here and bring them. But a lot of the children that we spoke to are just leaving on their own because this is what they face, either poverty, misery, or danger, either from the gangs or from organized crime.
But what would you say, why this influx now of children specifically?
Yeah, I think that was one of my main questions with everyone that I interviewed. And a guy from UNICEF, a representative from UNICEF in El Salvador, summarized it. And he said, these conditions have existed for many, many years, but right now they're worse and they're affecting children in a much greater manner than they did in the past. Remember also that a lot of these children, their parents are in the U.S. because after the civil wars in those areas, they came here looking for a better life. And a lot of times they left their children behind with either their grandmother, aunts, neighbors. Yeah. And this is the result of that. These children, some of them joined gang members, and the ones that didn't are trying to flee from the threat of these gang members. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what we're seeing.
Now, you spoke with the president of Honduras and Guatemala. How are they framing this?
Well, it's interesting because the president of Honduras specifically is blaming the U.S. What he's saying is that if it's a crime that comes from these drug problems there that is causing these children to leave, and the U.S. is the #1 consumer of drugs, then it bears a big responsibility, which is an argument that Mexico has made for years, that the U.S. is the main consumer of drugs, therefore is partly or mainly responsible for the violence in their countries. And the president of Guatemala seems to have no answers. He just keeps saying, yes, I think it's a shame that it's so poor. And yes, it's these coyotes or these smugglers who are spreading these rumors and making them go. But it's hard to buy that. It really has a lot to do with the conditions, yes, and the choices that they've.
You really spoke to a lot of coyotes and smugglers, like we saw in this summary today. Were you ever scared?
No. I've been to Haiti and Baghdad, so and I did a special on gang members in these 3 countries a few years back.
So you felt comfortable? You're like, this is old hat.
With the homies, I feel comfortable.
But Maria Elena, would you say there is a solution? Are you hopeful?
I wish that I could tell you that I'm hopeful, but I don't see a solution because it's not easy. There are so many factors that are driving these kids from coming here. And, one solution that a lot of people have brought up is immigration reform. But now it seems even further away, because the way the political discourse is here, they're feeding the idea that the border is not secure. Therefore, we should not have an immigration reform until we secure the border. So I really think that it's going to be very difficult. And these countries really need to work together with the U.S. Maybe now that there is a lot of focus, that it has become an international story, maybe now they'll work a little bit better to improve the living conditions in these countries.
Elena Salinas, your report really embodies the dilemmas that these child migrants and their families have had to overcome and keep doing so every day. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Coming up on our show, the cold hard truth when it comes to adoptions in the U.S.
We'll take a look at what a baby is worth, especially black and brown babies when compared to white babies. The numbers are disturbing. Then later, singer Aloe Blacc joins us to talk about his music and what he thinks about one of the most controversial issues of the day. Guess what? Immigration.
You're watching Fusion Live. Our Twitter handle is @FusionLiveTV. We're back right after this.
Maria Elena Salinas.
Welcome back to Fusion Live. Today we take a look inside the world of private adoption.
It is a multi-billion-dollar industry right here in the United States. And on the surface, it appears the priority is taking care of the children. That's what appears.
Yeah. It does appear that way, but Fusion's Kimberly Brooks checked out some of the agencies and how they set their prices, and she learned it's really just another case of supply and demand.
That's so good. Carlos and Cassie Lolet get a lot of questions about their 10-month-old baby Maya.
Is she yours? And,
Yeah.
where'd you get her?
But one they never get asked is, how much did she cost? Seems crazy, but some adoption agencies across the country have a real answer that may make you uncomfortable. The price tag often depends on race. It's a fact, black babies cost less to adopt than white babies. A 2010 economic study showed that African American children were 7 times less likely to be domestically adopted than a white or Hispanic child. Quote, equivalent to a decrease of at least $38,000 in adoption finalization cost, although the prices do vary state to state. And nationally, there is a shortage of African American families looking to adopt, with white families adopting the most. To counter this imbalance, many agencies have created incentives in the form of discounted service fees to make the adoption of a black or biracial child more desirable. A situation the Lolets experienced at one agency, but didn't want any part of.
I'm like, wow, this is reality.
Yeah, maybe a good motive to be able to do that. But then, what does it say? What does it say about the value that is placed on a child?
Sometimes the fee structure is hidden, and sometimes it's obvious, like this agency in Indianapolis, not available for comment. They have 2 programs. Program 1, for children who are Caucasian or Caucasian blend, priced $9,000 to $20,000. Program 2, full and biracial African American children, starting lower at $8,000 to $16,000. At Heart to Heart Agency in Salt Lake City, the website says they are committed to assuring all birth parents have a choice of families, and each child has a home to go to. In dollars, this translates to $36,000 for placing a white child, $27,000 for a biracial child, and $22,000 for an African American. For Donna Pope, owner of Heart to Heart Agency and mother of 3 adopted sons herself, including 2 biracial boys, the structure was set up with good intention.
I really wanted to care for the birth mom. And the challenging thing is that you want to give all birth moms equal opportunity.
But many agencies across the country say these fee structures are at best unnecessary and at worst racist.
I think it's completely antiquated. It's predicated on racism, and it sends a very dangerous message to the family and the child and just society in general that children are not of equal value.
Donna Pope says she's open to change. She's just looking for a system that works.
Now, if you can give birth moms options and leave the pricing exactly the same, I'm all for that.
Without any federal regulation or centrally mandated reporting system for private adoptions, agencies remain free to raise and lower fees as they wish. But for new parents like Carlos and Cassie, it's clear the love for their new child will never have a price.
That is one adorable baby. Kimberly Brooks joins us now. Well done, great reporting. Now, Kim, what are the different fee structures when we're talking about this issue?
Well, obviously, as you saw in the piece, there's the race-based fee structure, but the one that most agencies really like is a sliding scale based on income. And that way, a family can come in and, if they make a lot of money, they pay a lot. If they don't make so much, then they pay a little bit less. And, it all balances each other out. And of course, you don't have the questions about, a baby's worth. So.
Now, but these prices are set by each agency. However way they want.
Exactly.
Shouldn't there be a national institution regulating this?
Yeah, I mean, for foster care, public foster care, it's federally regulated. But for these adoption agencies, this private adoption, there's absolutely no system for reporting. And so they can charge whatever they like, any fees, any way they choose to. And so it's really out of hand.
It's pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
Do we know what exactly drives the cost? Has it gone up? Has it gone down? Like, who sets the cost?
That's the thing. There's really no rhyme or reason to why an agency sets it so high. I mean, one question that's underneath all of this is why it costs so much to begin with. Why does it cost at all? I mean, in an ideal world, it wouldn't cost anything to, bring a child into your home. But there's really no answer for that, and that's why there needs to be some sort of regulation so it's kind of equal all across the board in all the states.
Now,
Go ahead.
Is it okay, is it dangerous for one of these agencies to try to, quote unquote, sell a certain baby instead of another?
Yeah, I mean, critics say that it's dangerous because, as you can imagine, bringing a child into your home that's of a different race, there's a lot of education and support that's needed for that. You can have like lifelong issues, you know, in society. So when you bring a child in, you need that support. And so trying to convince a parent to take a child that they may not otherwise have, you know, even considered, it's a little bit dangerous because it makes you question who is the real priority. Is it the family or is it the baby? And it should be the baby.
Well done.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kimberly
Thank
Brooks.
you.
Come back.
Thank you.
Coming up on Fusion Live, a judge issues a ruling on spanking kids, plus a pretty gross discovery from a favorite fast food joint.
We're on Twitter at Fusion Live TV. Send us a tweet. We're back right after this.
Some nice range coming up of stories.
Welcome back to Fusion Live. It's time to find out what's going on in the world in a segment we call the News Swipe. Are you ready? Here we go. A New York State appellate court ruled spanking within a reasonable amount of force is legal for parents. Hey, where was this when I was a kid? I took a couple of ass whoopings that were questionably legal. I'll tell you that right now. McDonald's restaurants in China were recently caught preparing burgers with bad beef. Both expired meat and chicken were sold at the restaurant, some of which had actually been picked up off the floor, and no one noticed since it's McDonald's. Tastes the same. It really doesn't matter what's in it. Tastes the same. Mexican billionaire Carlos Slim thinks people could improve their quality of life by switching to a 3-day work week. By this, he meant 12-hour days until you're 75. Kind of sounds a little like slavery. You know what else could improve our life, sir? How about spreading around some of those billions you got laying around the house? That would be nice. We could all use it. And a big milestone for e-gaming. ESPN is covering the Dota 2 tournament like a real sport. Fusion Live correspondent Bradley Blackburn joins us with more. Welcome back to the show as usual.
How are you,
Hi,
Brad?
guys.
How are
I'm
you?
doing well. How are you?
Good.
I'm very informed after your news, Jan.
That's
Absolutely.
the news swipe.
And this tournament just wrapped up a few minutes ago. And it's really a sign that e-gaming and esports are going mainstream in a big way. If you've never seen one of these tournaments, there are some facts that will really surprise you. The 10,000-person arena in Washington State is sold out for this Dota 2 tournament. It's a team sport with crews from around the world competing for a purse worth $10 million. That's right, $10 million, guys. I mean, it's kind of incredible. It's a bigger deal than a lot of other pro sports out there. And this weekend, big headlines all over the web about the fact that our sister network, ESPN, covered the tournament for the first time, airing coverage on ESPN 2 and 3. Let's take a look at some of their commentary.
Who will emerge victorious? The battle begins.
Welcome back to the International Dota 2 Championships. It's a beautiful day outside, but we're all inside to watch some amazing Dota 2.
I was really close last year. Our whole path to the grand finals was really tough.
Great, the hook's gonna come in right now. The cog's gonna be ready. Moo's gonna charge up his stun, but I'm not sure it's gonna make it out there. The tower is helping out.
You really have to admire VG for continually trying to fight and fight and fight.
3-1 the victory over $5 million. They are your champions.
Wow. Right there with the fireworks, guys. That's the team that just won, Newbie.
Changing the perception of what a sport and what an athlete is, right? It's like, who will emerge victorious? And these kids like playing in their computers,
Well, you
right?
know what? It's sort of the natural progression from like what an athlete is when you talk about golf. I mean, is that an athlete? We started with that a long time ago, and now this is just the farthest extreme.
My question is, next stop the Olympics? Maybe?
Well, I don't know. I think it might take a while for that to happen. But I will say it's kind of surprising that it's taken this long for this sport to come to ESPN, because it's no secret that people today like to watch video games as a spectator sport. We've talked in the past about PewDiePie. He's that Swedish guy who has millions and millions of viewers on YouTube where he narrates his video games. I think we have some pictures of it, because in the gaming world, he's well known for posting these funny videos, humorous videos that show him, as he games and just different reactions to it. And then, people in the gaming world had lots of questions. They were rolling their eyes at the idea of ESPN jumping on the bandwagon, because the gaming site Twitch already generates huge traffic broadcasting this kind of coverage. So it's not like this is something that hasn't already been happening.
They're all jumping in there it's because there's money there.
The world better get used to it. Thank you so
100%.
much, Bradley Blackburn.
Thanks, guys.
Coming up on the show, he has been featured on some of the biggest music hits of the year. We'll chat with Aloe Black coming up.
That's right. Plus, what happens when you combine electronic music, acrobatics, and water. It's a show you have to see to believe.
We are on Twitter at Fusion Live TV. Send us a tweet. We're back after these messages.
This is also considered a sport.
What? Welcome back to Fusion Live. Let's say you're supposed to be in the theater, right? It's hard for me, especially to sit alone in the dark, and just for 2 hours, it's very difficult.
Sounds very depressing. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Luckily, there's a new experimental global theater tour for people just like you. You can make noise, you can dance, or even just head to the bar, okay? Just watch out because you might get a little wet.
Sounds like my type of musical. Fusion's Ariel Castillo checked out the opening of the show, H2 Hombre. Let's take a look.
Hey, this is Ariel, and who doesn't love a hot, wet man in the summer? Luckily, there are plenty of them in this new performance, H2 Hombre, that's part theater, part performance art, part safe clubbing experience for your mom. And watch out, there is a splash zone.
You know when you used to do drugs and then you kind of grew up and stopped, and then you had all this leftover drug money to spend on things like theater? Oh yeah, us either. But hey, this is a pretty good way to spend some bucks and get a psychedelic effect. This is H2 Hombre, and it's the latest production from the creators of the experimental De La Garda theater troupe that originated in Argentina. What started as weirdo fringe shows is now a big bucks affair. H2 Hombre is starting this summer in Miami at the Adrian Arch Center, and then it's touring globally. Think theater for club kids, clubbing for your mom, acrobatics for theater people, or some combination thereof. Also, they touch you and stuff.
Are you one of the guys that comes out in the audience like in Cats?
Yeah, we all do.
Plot twist. This show, if you can't tell by the name, is all about using water as a narrative device. Like, a lot of it. Like, there's a splash zone. Like, do not wear your nice shoes.
Do you ever get grossed out walking around like squishing? You know how when you have that squishy thing in your sneakers? How do you deal with that mentally?
You can see it right now.
Yeah, you're just like leaving
I'm
puddles
watering all around.
Watering all around. The idea, though, is that it's all about reviving human contact. I guess that's good.
When you grab somebody like this, you know, and take her to
where we going?
Where we go, you know, and then somebody can pick you up in the air, you know, or somebody can dance with you.
And if all that's too much, there's always the bar, which you can go to at any point. Yes, theater where you can drink.
And because everybody's a VIP in their own mind, there's even a bottle service menu. Okay, so a bunch of loud electronic music, a bunch of fit dancers and acrobats from Argentina running around in the water, and you can buy a drink while the whole thing's going on. H2 Hombre is not your mama's theater, but you could totally bring your mama if she's cool. I'm Ariel Castillo for Fusion.
So did she sell it? Would you go to it?
Dude, if they got bottle service, I'm there. I just got my eyebrows shaped up. I'm ready for bottle service.
I would fear sort of how unpredictable those shows are. You know, they may like throw a bucket of cold water on you and you're not prepared for it.
One thing's for sure, you'll get wet.
I just love it when you have to interact with them and they pretend like they're in character and you're like, dude, we're in the bathroom. You don't have to. I know you're a real person. Coming up on Fusion Live, we'll check out the Fusion feed. Today's must-see videos. Plus, I'm jumping in bed with my good friend, comedian Sergio Chicon.
You don't want to miss it. You're watching Fusion Live. We're on Twitter at Fusion Live TV.
Welcome back to a little show we like to call Fusion Live.
It's time for us to share the things we've been posting in our news feeds today. One of my favorite parts of the show. It's a segment we call the Fusion feed. Pedro, what are you sharing?
Are you guys ready for vertigo? As you
Oh my God.
As per usual.
No. As you guys know, I'm terrified of heights, which means you will never, ever, ever see me near this new ride in Denmark. I am talking about over 100-foot drop into the net. Free fall. Watch this.
Oh my God. Oh God, I'm heart attack. That's a cardiac arrest right
Thanks,
there.
but no thanks.
Who
That's
wants to
right.
simulate falling off a building for fun?
Look at that. Yeah, you know, I'm too old for this. You know, there's a time when you're growing up, you're like, I have to prove to myself that I can do this.
Yeah.
I don't have to prove
It's not
anything
in my
anymore.
interest either.
Yeah. Why is that
I
fun?
cannot do that.
How is that fun?
Now listen to my share, guys. I've always thought that people in Miami were really bad drivers. Not until you meet this guy. Take a look at this guy in Russia. This is just a succession of crashes. Look at the dash cam. Look to your left. Boom. Okay. This is just one dash cam.
And another one is
And then
coming.
just wait for it, wait for it. This one backs up. They're all just waiting to head home. Another one, and wait for it. I mean, this is just...
That's the biggest one.
And in the span of just minutes, my
Yeah.
God, like 3 cars. And then my favorite one again, boom.
Booyah.
No.
Patience is a virtue, people. But I'm a really bad driver, too, so I shouldn't really be saying.
Not that bad.
Russia's got those dash cams. They're capturing all that footage. It's great.
I'm
Keep
sort of
putting them up,
crazy.
Russia. We love it. All right, guys. I'm going to rap now. This guy's name is Krispy Kreme. He's a rapper. And this could be one of the worst rap songs you've ever heard. The video is called Haters Wanna Be Me. Check it out.
Oh my God.
Yep, said all the haters wanna be me. The only problem is they can't even see me. Ball so hard, record labels wanna sign me. Life is a race and everybody's behind me. Everybody gets scared when I front flip. If you come around here, then you're done with. Have you ever been to the county fair? I rode the fireball and I wasn't even scared. I got swallowed by an anaconda snake. Then I told him you just made a big mistake.
Black is a race and everyone's behind me. Poetry.
What was going on with that tree up there? It seems like he really had no
That was-
budget for a
He
video.
was being a gangster, son. Cat, that position is called cat caught in a tree.
Yeah.
I
And
like
he talks
what-
about being signed by labels.
Yeah, record labels want to sign me.
Hey, we're giving him airtime, so Krispy Kreme, keep it going.
Very nice. Now, you guys should send us your picks for the Fusion feed. Tweet us at Fusion Live TV. We want to hear about your Fusion feeds.
Now it's time for the latest installment of Comedians in Bed. I'm jumping under the sheets with one of my good friends, comedian Sergio Chicon. Take a look. What's up, guys? I am here with actually one of my close friends. We've done many shows together. New York City's own Sergio Chicon. Were you just already throwing peace signs?
Already, I'm all about it.
You look comfortable.
Yeah, man, this is nice. This is nice. I'm not used. I wish you would get off. I could just lay down by myself because this is like comfortable. I'm not used to this sort of comfort.
No?
No, man, because I live with my girlfriend and my 2-year-old, and the baby's always in between us, like, and we look like an H in the bed all the time. It's just.
You got a studio. There's not a lot of room. There's no place to escape.
It's tight. It's me, my dog, my cat, and my daughter, man. That situation may be illegal, you know? That's the way I live my life.
When you and your girl fight, where do you go?
I go to the bathroom and I run the water. That's what I do.
This girl gave me a half-ass compliment today. Anyone ever girl grabbed on my wrist, a complete stranger grabbed on my wrist. Oh my God, you look just like Vin Diesel. I was like, thank you, boo-boo. Oh, my stomach is been I was like, oh, thanks, girl. She said, no, let me finish. You know when they say, let me finish, that's a follow-up to some insulting right? I said, I'm gonna let you finish. You know, you look like Vin Diesel, but with cerebral palsy. I said, thank you again, because I know what cerebral palsy was. Until I Googled that not a compliment.
Now you box too.
Yeah, I love boxing.
That's your other thing.
Oh,
It's like
man.
you got sort of 2 lives and 2 passions.
Yeah.
You box, you teach boxing.
Right. This boxer, he's a pro fighter. His name is Sean, black dude. And I was in the ring, and I just felt real tight because he was so much more experienced than me.
Yeah.
So that alone stresses you out. It's like doing a big show. It's like your first big show. It like your nerves get the best of you. You gotta shake that up and get into it.
Yeah.
Everything that you prepare for. As hard as you prepare, you have to now hope that it all comes together.
Right.
So I'm winning, and he just looks confident. You know when someone just so confident, they just take something from you?
Yeah.
I was like this in the ring, like the gloves felt really heavy, the mouthpiece felt really big in my mouth, the headgear was just like, felt really tight. and I was just nervous, and he caught me with a left hook. Boom, and I said, oh. I said, oh. And I actually see my trainer and all the people in the gym watching and swing like this. My knees buckled. I look like a giraffe that was just born. My legs like. Oh man, talking about bombs, like me bombing is like some of my favorite things to talk about because I bombed so bad at Laugh Lounge one time. I did my first joke. Yeah. And you know when you're bombing, when the silence is loud.
When you can hear the silence.
Like, loud. I was so embarrassed, humiliated. And I think I left all my personal belongings at the club and left to the side.
Now you're a New York native. Yeah. You're from here. A lot of people are moving to New York now. You're originally from the Lower East Side. What's that like, man?
Well, Lower East Side has changed considerably. It's changed a lot. It used to be heroin city.
Yeah.
Now it's like coffee shops and cupcake shops all over the place.
Yeah.
And it's changed a lot, man. But
do you see them looking at you, judging you?
Yeah, man. People point at me like they look at me like, look at that Puerto Rican, his original habitat. I'm like, get him while he's feeding on that mango. I gotta bury my mango, eat it later.
So growing up in New York was tough, man. You were scared all the time. I remember those days. New York was a different town, man.
There's like some notorious bullies out in the Lower East Side. That was his name.
When you were growing up,
when I was growing up, I remember this kid, and I could just feel someone like looking at me from across the street by my school in junior high school. And I turned around, and he's like, I just glanced at him.
You made eye contact with him. Your eyes met, and you were like, oh no.
And he was like, yo, my dude, why you keep on looking at me like this sweet? I was like, I said, I wasn't even looking at you, yo.
And then you just stumbled away?
I was like that.
What does that even mean? Why are you looking at me like is sweet?
I don't know what that means. I wasn't about to find out.
He's a very funny comedian. He'll be in a town near you. Check him out. Follow him on Twitter. Sergio Chicon. Hashtag DBS Dirtbag. He always has a lot of funny tweets. And I appreciate you hanging out. All right, guys. We're going back to bed. It's good. Good night, everybody. Sergio Chicon.
His name could be like an Italian cologne, you know.
He's Puerto Rican.
Sergio Chicon.
Oh,
Chicon.
Yeah. A little Italy restaurant. Sergio Chicon. Let's have some meatballs, polpettini. Now, he said something so true. Like, when silence is loud, it's devastating.
But it really is. I mean, as a comic, you talk a lot about, I bombed here, I bombed there. There's an art to bombing well.
You gotta own it. You just own it. Like I remember one of my one of the guys I looked up to coming up was not Donnell Rawlings, and he said when I bomb aggressive, just like I'm trying to fight somebody in the parking lot. Like I'm not just gonna roll over and let them abuse me like that and hate me. I'm gonna make them really hate me. So you own it. You own it. But that story he told me the first time he told me that story, I laughed for like 10 minutes. He said he bombed so hard he forgot his jacket upstairs. He just wanted to be because when you bomb, you just want to get out of the place.
That's like going to a horrible job interview or a horrible date. You forget your purse, your jacket. You
don't want to stand around and watch the audience they always give you that glazed over look like you don't exist. They just go.
Funny guy. Next on Fusion Live, we go one-on-one with one musician, with musician Aloe Black. What he has to say about his music, inspiring hope, and immigration. You heard that right.
Wow, we'll be right back. Don't you go anywhere. Sit back down. Welcome back to Fusion Live, guys. You probably know Aloe Black best for his hit song with Avicii, Wake Me Up.
Wake me up when it's all over. So good. What you may not know is that the singer and songwriter uses music to talk about an issue he has a very, very, very personal connection with, immigration.
Aloe is currently on tour with Bruno Mars, but took some time to stop by the Fusion offices in New York City. Take a look.
Well, you can tell everybody. Yeah, you can tell everybody. Go ahead and tell everybody. I'm the man, I'm the man, I'm the man.
Bex put together a fantastic party. They had 8 different artists design their own Bex label. And so I put sunglasses to kind of represent that relationship with hip-hop music and the street, but then the bow tie to represent the relationship with academia and the corporate world. New album, Lift Your Spirit, is intended to make people happy. My goal with music is to make positive social change, and the first way to do that is to make someone smile. And if I can write a song that makes people smile, that hopefully they pay that joy and that happiness forward.
Feeling my way through the darkness, guided by a beating heart.
Avicii was looking for a soul singer to be on his album, and he wanted to write music that felt soulful so that he could create his dance production around it. And I went in the studio with him and Mike Einziger from Incubus, and together we all created Wake Me Up.
So wake me up when it's all over, when I'm wiser and I'm older.
I'm a first-generation American, so when it came time to do a music video for Wake Me Up, I felt like the theme and the topic of immigration was something that I could lend the popularity of the song and the idea of what Wake Me Up stands for. My parents came here from Panama. They struggled in their country to find the resources and opportunities that ultimately they couldn't get. So they came here to make a better life. The immigration issue means to me hope. You know, I really do see hope in it, and I know there's a lot of emotional tension around it. I know that there are a lot of very nationalistic folks who don't feel that people from other countries should be able to come and exploit the resources that we have here. But I would just caution everyone to remember that this country is built by immigrants, some voluntary, others forced. And so we need to recognize the history. We need to honor the fact that labor is what has populated this country in the first place. And it is what will sustain this country. And for the dreamers, they are the future. They are the future of this country, you know, and for all intents and purposes, I personally could be a dreamer had my parents not been naturalized, had the immigration situation when they were trying to become citizens been harsher. And I stand right there with them.
Eloquent, man. Dude, man, just...
Remember his old hit, I need $1, dollar,
Oh,
that's
that
what
was
I
a
need.
great song, too.
That was him.
It's so great when a musician just, you know, gets behind a cause. And I love it now after Pharrell's Happy, too, that people are making inspiring music that lifts you up, you know?
Yeah. On this video, the Wake Me Up, he talks about a story of deportation. And actually, the guy that was in the video was deported and just got back in the U.S. So it's a pretty good story.
Great to know.
Right.
So thank you for watching this show today, guys. We love to kick off the week with you. Now, before we go, we have a couple of friends here.
That's right. We are going to leave you with the band Electric Piquete. Take it away, guys.
And Israel's defense minister says his country will continue its war against Hamas for as long as necessary. Israel today continued to attack targets in the Gaza Strip from the air and from tanks on the ground while Hamas launched its rockets. We also... What? My God. We have breaking speculation right now, ladies and gentlemen. Jay-Z and Beyonce may reportedly, allegedly be breaking up. This not-so-important news has sent shockwaves throughout our nation. Americans are huddled in shelters, relying on body warmth to keep from going into shock. Everyone, please stay calm. This is just speculation at this point. Please do not do anything rash, and please stay with us for all the latest. I'm just very concerned about our country right now.
Through Mexico all the way to the U.S. border to track these stories of hope and hardship. It's that place between abandonment and rejection.
Thousands of unaccompanied minors from Central America have reached the U.S. border, creating what President Obama has called a humanitarian crisis. But the handling of this crisis is less than humane. It has been tainted by the political debate that ignores the root of the problem. For many of these children, the trip to the north is not just a migration, but an escape from unbearable conditions in their countries of origin.
Como una semana antes de que nos viniéramos, mataron a dos muchachos. Así, fue terrible ver un muerto y nunca lo había visto. Nunca había visto.
Sisters Karen and Melissa, 15 and 12 years of age, decided to travel alone to the U.S. from their native El Salvador. During their journey, they endured bitter moments.
Nos bajaron de una combi y nos asaltaron.
¿Les hicieron algún daño físico también?
Sí.
¿Qué les hicieron?
Nos tocaban y nos querían bajar él.
They were captured by Mexican federal agents before crossing the border to the U.S. and taken to a shelter where they were awaiting repatriation. The 70-year-old Salvador
against LGBT workers. So I firmly believe that it's time to address this injustice for every American.
That was President Obama signing that into order today. And guys, if there was any doubt about President Obama's legacy on LGBT rights, he pretty much wiped them away today. This was a 2008 campaign promise, which the president kept.
But a lot of people are calling this the new civil rights. We saw that, the Time magazine cover with Laverne Cox.
I remember that.
And exactly. And so they're saying that this is also going to decide a lot on the up and coming elections. It was a big move. And what makes a big difference as well from the 1998 bill that Bill Clinton signed is the fact that it really involved transgender, transsexual, and all that.
Yeah, they were sort of like the forgotten group, and now he's coming through on that campaign. It's good to see that in the second term, somebody following through on a promise.
Unlike other promises.
Right. Well, first term, it's like I want to get reelected. Second term, he's really doing it from the heart, so that's good.
Or unlike other promises like immigration, but that's another issue.
Yeah, that's another issue. We will get to that a little bit.
Because Fusion Live is just getting started. Here's what we have coming up in the next hour.
What exactly is a baby worth? In the adoption world, little black or brown boys and girls are worth tens of thousands of dollars less than white babies. We'll tell you how that's even possible. Plus, he has been featured on some of the biggest music hits of the year.
Feeling my way through the darkness.
We sit down for a one-on-one interview with Aloe Blacc, his music inspiring hope and what he has to say about immigration. Then we go on a heart-thumping ride through the air. This show is wet and wild. We'll give you a front seat to the new show H2 Hombre. And later, it's time to climb in bed with a comedian.
Were you just already throwing peace signs?
Already, I'm all about it.
Giannis gets under the sheets with funny guy Sergio Chicon. The New York comedian talks about bombing in front of a live audience and his love for boxing.
Now to the story we picked for you today. We've been covering the immigration crisis where 50,000 kids are stranded at the border. By now, you've heard about it. You've seen the images of these kids in detention centers all across the border.
Yeah. That's right. What you probably don't know about is how bad the conditions in these Central American countries really are. What would lead a mother to send her 5-year-old child thousands of miles through some of the most dangerous countries in the world alone, guys?
Completely alone. Univision News anchor Maria Elena Salinas, she followed their path from Honduras and Guatemala.
Hello and welcome to Fusion Live. I'm Pedro Andrade, joined by my co-hosts Mariana Atencio and Yanis Papas.
Lovely as always to kick off the week with you guys. And we actually saw each other this weekend. We had a great time together.
We did. We got to do it more often.
Yeah.
And you know what, guys? We are joined by the band Electric Piquete.
The second time they've come on the show.
That's right.
And I'm loving it. I wasn't here for the first time, so I'm looking forward to their performance tonight. Let's get the show started. We begin with our straight shot of the day. President Obama signed a historic executive order today that bans workplace discrimination toward lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender workers.
That's right. The order makes it illegal to harass or fire federal employees and contract workers based on gender identity or sexual orientation.
The president spoke today from the White House before signing the order. Take a look.
More states now allow same-sex marriage than prohibit discrimination.